we have, all right. We have most of our members present. Steve Alter is flying back to India as I speak right now. He'll be joining the program tomorrow morning, I think. He is not going to be present with us today and sends his regrets, but he's been in the States for the past month or so visiting family and is headed back to India in the plane right now. So let me begin well, I'm going to read off all the names of the board members, and maybe if you guys, when I read your name, if you're there, you could wave to everybody. Lucy, are you there? There's Lucy Dornfold. Suzanne Hannafel. Suzanne's waving. Sharon Cito. Sharon's waving. David Shastri. There's David. Steve Enrui. Hi, Steve. And Kim Brenneman. She's waving. Hi, Kim. All right, and I'm not sure if Craig is on right now. He may join us in a moment.
I'm right here.
Oh, there you are, Craig. Sorry. I see you, Joe. All right, thanks. Nice to see you.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. All right. So we have all of our board members here, and I'm looking. David and Connie, Connie Wheeler, do you want to wave? And David Wheeler. There's David. Hi, David. Wave. So our the first thing I want to do is on behalf of the FWS Board of Directors, I want to thank Lucy Dornfold for 6 years of amazing service on the FWS board. She is from the class of '67, and that class has done a lot for our alumni community. Marlon Schoonemaker was also in that class. He served as a past president of FWS. And Lucy, our board and our administrative office will be sending you a certificate of appreciation and a gift and a big thank you from all of us on the board for your contribution and service over these years. So I want to give Lucy a great big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
With Lucy leaving, the board has brought on Kim Gingrich Brenneman to our board, class of '79. And Kim, actually, would you unmute yourself? Would you mind just sharing with the members here a little bit about your background?
So I went to Woodstock with my parents back in '76, and my dad was the guidance counselor, and we were there for several years. My parents went back several other times, and I always went back to visit them. And so, being at Woodstock was during my high school years, was just a really important, significant time in my life. And I always connected better with Woodstock and my friends than the friends that I had back in the States. Unfortunately, I had to come back to the States in my senior year, and that really was the pits. But my background, since then, I have, what exactly kind of background are you talking about, Bruce? Are you talking about like educational background or?
Just briefly, what you've done over your years and.
Okay.
Please include arrests, Kim.
Please include what?
Arrests.
Arrests?
Arrests, yes,
Oh, arrests.
Arrests.
I like that gumshoe you have there.
Oh, thank you.
Anyway, so I came back and I got my PhD in developmental and educational psychology, and I taught for 30 years at Eastern Mennonite University at Harrisonburg, here in Harrisonburg. And after about 30 years, I decided, you know what, it's time for something else in my life. And luckily, my husband is still working. So I retired, and I have trained a pup, a half Shih Tzu, half Poodle pup, and we do agility trials. And we also, the main thing we do is he and I are a trained therapy team, and so we volunteer with a hospice agency, and we go to 3 different retirement centers, and we visit their patients, and then whoever, and you know, if there's extra time, we just visit anybody else who's at the retirement center. And we also go to the 911 command center here in town and visit those people who are on those calls. And so that's wonderful. I love being retired. The other neat thing that because I had been to Woodstock, where I taught here at EMU, we have a program that every student is required to go on a cross-cultural experience for a semester. And so they asked me if I would do one to India. Well, of course, if I can get my way paid to India and go see Woodstock each time, I couldn't pass that up. So I took 4 semesters, 4 groups of students over 4 different semesters to India. And we always spent about 2 to 3 weeks up in Missouri. And of course, you just had to do Missouri, you know. And Glenn went along a couple of times as an expert. And so that was loads of fun. So anyway, that's sort of my background. Last year, Sharon asked if I would be on the committee here to help plan the virtual one. And I thought, oh man, I've been really careful with my time since I've been retired. And it's like, oh, that's a no-brainer. I want to help with that. And so it's been really fun to get back with the Woodstock community and touch base and learn to know new people. So, okay, Bruce, that's probably enough.
Thank you. No, that was great. It's amazing. We have so much. I look at the screen here. We have so much talent in our alumni community, but I just want everybody to know there's a lot of interesting talent and diversity on our Friends of Woodstock School Board of Directors. What I'm going to do is, just to get this out of the way, I'm going to call for a motion to accept Lucy onto our board, and also I guess what I'll do is we'll also get approval from the members gathered here today for the officers of FWS for the coming year, and I will tell you who those are going to be. The board would like to get the ratification of the members here for me to continue as 1 more year as president, for David Shastri to continue to be vice president, Steve and Rui treasurer, and Suzanne Hannafel is going to become our new secretary. So with that said, would somebody like to make a motion to welcome Kim to our board and to bless the slate of officers that I've just read?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Mary Self-Scarston has made that motion. Thank you, Mary. Second?
Second.
Second by Jane. Okay, thank you. All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Thank you very much. The second sort of mundane order of business that we have here is to approve the minutes from last year's general meeting. And these minutes have not been circulated in paper to all of you, but they've been posted and advertised, posted on the FWS website for the past many weeks or months, and you know, any of you who have gone on and read the minutes from last year, I would like to give you a gold star and a round of applause, because most of us don't do that. But if you have, fantastic. Actually, what I want to do also before I ask for the minutes to be approved is I want to take the moment to really urge all of you, and tell your friends, go to the FWS website. There's so much interesting information material there. There is and we're going to come back to this in a little bit later. Our office puts out a absolutely amazing annual report every year. It's mailed to a lot of you who are donors to the school, and to others it's available in color, in print, on the website. You can print it off. I actually gave my hard copy to Katie Jo when she was visiting Chicago. So I have right here a color print off that I just did recently of the latest FWS annual report, but it really shows how much support the alumni community is giving to the school. It lists all the donors. It talks about everything that our alumni organization is doing, and it's just a wonderful document to take a look at. And you'll get a good sense of what's going on at Woodstock if you look through it. So I am going to ask if anybody has any questions from the minutes of last year's annual meeting, which was held on Saturday, June 19th, via Zoom conference call, June 19th, 2021. And if there are any corrections to the minutes, this is your opportunity to note them. If not, I'd ask for a motion to approve the minutes from last year's meeting.
So moved.
From some, it's been moved. Is a second?
Seconded.
Very good. Second. Okay, thank you. All in favor, please raise your hand if you approve the minutes. Any opposed? Seeing none, the minutes then are approved. Connie and David Wheeler, thank you for preparing the minutes. I'm now going to turn the mic over to Steve Van Rooy for a few minutes, and he's going to give a summary of some of the financial highlights of FWS over the past year or two. Thanks, Steve.
And we will underscore a summary of, this is going to be brief. We met just a couple months ago, so there's not a whole lot that's happened since then. And since it will be rather brief, if any of you are interested in a fuller accounting, just let me know. I'll send you probably more than you'll want, or you can get it from David Wheeler as well. So here's what we know. In the last fiscal year, not this last one, but the one previous, it was fabulous by way of a return. Our return, as some of you might recall, was something over 20% in the market. This year's fiscal return, you might want to guess, is not so great. From July last year to the end of December, our cash performance was approximately 2.9%, call it 3%. And then from January 1st to June 30th, as you know, the market did not do well. Our cash performance was, are you ready for this? Negative 15.1%, call it 15%. That's a huge difference. If you have a pulse, you know that inflation has hit a 40-year high water mark here in the United States and in other parts of the world as well. And in the unlikely event, and it is unlikely, that we get an 8% return this year, it's really a net zero because of inflation. The only kind of good thing so far is that we are not yet in any sort of a recession, but that might be coming. So what I want to do here is just to give you a very brief little summary of some of the funds that are involved. We track funds that come in and we track funds that go out. So here's the total of the contributions in the last fiscal year, and that came to $720,000 and a little bit dollars. And most of that went for grants, and the grants total, including what went out from what we had earned in the market. The total number of grants, that total dollar amount of the grants that went out was 1.2 million and change. So most of that went, just over $1 million, towards the Woodstock Science Wing renovation, and then a number of other smaller little things like classrooms, the Hannibal internship program, the Woodstock Center for Imagination, some COVID relief, and so forth, a number of smaller types of donations. And then there were some scholarship grants in the amount of about $122,000. And 5 of those are named endowment scholarships. And then there were 7 Lee Chu scholarships, and combined total that was about $120,000. So the current period assets this last fiscal year, the beginning balance was $6,921,000. And the amount that we have left right now, based on the contributions that have been sent out, minus the loss in the market so far, is $5,585,000. So that's kind of just generally where we are. And that concludes my report.
Steve, thank you very much. You know, I would add, if I can add just a little bit to that, I would add that just in a real big, broad brush of things, in 2000 and let's say in 2000, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I joined FWS 12 years ago for the first time, and we had about $3 million in total financial assets at that time. Since then, we've doubled that amount, and we've given Woodstock through scholarship, through various grants for capital projects and scholarships and so on, you know, about $4 or $5 million. So I mean, we made a lot of grants. We've doubled, you know, over the past decade, we've doubled our financial assets. And what I want all of you to know, though, is a big chunk of that too are endowment assets at FWS. And what these are endowed scholarships and other endowed funds that are, you know, are sort of restricted in the sense that, you know, they are donor restricted. They're there for the long term for Woodstock School. There's not something we could just liquidate and pass on. So I just want you to know that a lot of the funds that we manage as a fiduciary body are these scholarships and long-term endowment funds that we have. The other thing I want to stress, I think, on the grant side of the FWS is that you're going to be seeing a video tomorrow that Woodstock has put together that's going to show you visually some of the show you the Center for Imagination, the new science block, a lot of the renovated classrooms. All these things have been made possible by donations from our alumni community. And it's just absolutely amazing. You know, we've done so much. Our alumni community has really helped Woodstock do a lot of important and really amazing renovations on campus. And if some of you saw the sport program earlier this morning, you know, the Mumby Gym, that was completed in 2009, I think, 9 or 10. But, you know, that was all the alumni community, and, you know, Rick Downs and some others had a big uh, a big role in financing that big renovation. So I just want you to know the school is doing great. It's got but our community has done so much to step up and assist with needs at Woodstock. And I want to thank all of you, and I want to thank you know, I want to thank Rick Downs. I know he's not on here right now, but we've really it's wonderful to work with this alumni community and all of its interests in helping Woodstock. So just I want to give everybody here a big hand for for their support um, and so that's a big thank you there. Um, and Kim Shuffy, I know you have your hand. I'll let you jump in here.
Just wanted to ask two questions.
Sure.
One, I understand that the endowment grew because certain people made very significant contributions, but they did so in a very restricted manner. Um, I mean, I think we're talking in a million plus range from certain individuals. Am I correct in that? The second question I want to pose to you is, what what is our fund? What is our market fund exposure? What are we investing in? Where are these investments located? And specifically, are they just for return on investment, or are we investing in funds that have a social conscience? Just those two questions, please.
Sure. So I'll jump in first. On the first one, for example, you mentioned some of the. I'll give you one example of one of the restricted funds. When Lee Chu died, all right, she left a large chunk of money for a very specific kind of scholarships. And these are scholarships that are made to individuals who've graduated from Woodstock, who've gone to university in North America, in Canada or the US, and suddenly they have some change in their financial situation and are unable, might have to, would be challenged to finish uh, their college degree if they didn't get some additional support. They can apply. It, Lee Chu wanted to help Woodstock grads who needed that extra financial support to finish their college education. So that's we have given out $50,000-$60,000 a year in the last couple of years to folks to assist them, in their pursuit of their college graduate educations. So those, that's not, again, those aren't grants directly to Woodstock, but they're grants to graduates of Woodstock and to our and to the legacy of Woodstock and so, but for example, those funds that Lee Chu donated then are part of our restricted endowment that, for example, we couldn't send to Woodstock just to use for for whatever general purposes that Woodstock had. So that's just that's an example there. As far as our investments, we have an investment manager, Alliance Bernstein. We've worked with them for the last 10 years. They're a professional investment manager. We have a diversified, we have investments in a lot of different. It's broadly diversified and it's conservative. It still pretty much follows. We have high quality bonds. We have diversified equities in the U.S., some international equities. And we've had discussions about ESG investing, and we're looking into that still. But at the moment, what we're most interested in is just maintaining a fairly conservative and broad-based portfolio of investments in stocks, bonds, and we have a little bit in some alternative investments.
Okay, thank you. I was just really concerned because of the 15+% loss that maybe.
Well, I can speak to that. The 15% loss was just a total market loss. That's what's happened since January. I mean, if you follow the stock market at all, we had a high of fairly close to 36, and I think it tumbled down to 29 something, and now it's working its way back up slowly. So that's where our loss came in.
I want to ask you, Steve, how does it compare to the losses in 2020? There was a huge drop.
We had no losses. We had no losses in 2020.
Okay.
Because we bounce back fast. It depends on where you pick the time of the year.
Right.
So there was this huge fall in, right after the pandemic hit, and then it bounced back, a little bit. So
yes.
So anyway, we're we're very conservative. We have a finance committee that Steve runs, and it has several other non-board member financial professionals that are that provide advice, and we talk with our investment advisor all the time, and so it's, but we're doing well. We're doing as well as anybody is doing on the financial side, and that's a good thing. And
if I could just say, we took a hickey this year, but so did everybody else.
Yeah, yes, I'm well aware of that. Yes, my concern is that the advice that we're receiving, given who we are supporting, I hope that advice remains sound in today's environment. I don't know what the selection criteria is for those particular investment advisors, and it just is more concerning because the world seems to be in a more precarious position than it has been traditionally, and much of it seems to be kind of trailblazing because we're going into areas we haven't been before. So that was the basis of my question.
So one of the things that I think should make you feel a little bit better is that AllianceBernstein is known for investing on behalf of foundations. I think they have something like somewhere between 600 and 700 billion dollars invested, and a good portion of that is for foundations. And I think that those foundations are as concerned as you are and as we are.
Right. And we're friends of Woodstock School, and we're puny compared to let's just say Harvard or Yale or Stanford's foundations and so on. Yes. I mean, but they give us a lot of attention, and they give us a lot of reports, and our finance committee pays a lot of attention to the to our returns and to our the diversification of our portfolio and so on. Glenn Conrad.
Yeah, Kim, I think your question's a good one, and it's relevant, obviously, but it might be. I mean, the finance committee includes a number of people. The finance committee of the board includes a number of people that are not on the board itself, but were placed there specifically for their interest and expertise in finances, and they're in very close and regular communication with the folks at what's the name again? Bruce Bernstein.
AllianceBernstein.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting older.
You're thinking of the Bernstein Bears, I think. Right?
Yes, and they're very close and they're very responsive. I mean, if somebody on the finance committee or anyone on the board calls them up and says we would like to meet with you, I mean, they usually hop to it. So, I mean, in that sense, I think those things are being looked at and monitored very closely by the finance committee. That isn't the end of the story, however. I mean, you're right. There's strange times we're in, and different times, and things are in turmoil, and monitoring may not necessarily do the trick, but certainly I think the steps the foundation can take are being taken. There's more information in the annual report. And there's a list of the restricted special funds on the FWS website. And I'm sure if you would like to call up David Wheeler or Steve, they would probably bore you to tears with talking about the real detail of all this stuff. It's quite complicated, and they do a good job. And we've had to, we've had to accept some complexity given the ambitions to do things like house scholarships and endowments that we didn't used to do. So good questions. I mean, I think you can be somewhat reassured that the board is taking it all very seriously and monitoring it closely.
Glad to hear it. Yeah, I have spoken with Ricky extensively, so it hasn't been for a few years. Maybe I need to call him up again.
With who? With who?
Ricky Downs.
Yeah, Rick wouldn't necessarily have any direct information these days about the overall finances of FWS, but he certainly would have an opinion and would be good to talk to. But I'd recommend the Wheelers and Steve Van Rieswell as the people who really have their fingers on the books right now. Well, and Bruce too, for that matter.
Yeah, thank you.
Earl Green, you had your hand up. I can
Yes,
see you'd like
I had
to
my
pick
hand
on-
up. I wanted to pick up on what Kim had asked that got skipped. What about the social responsibility aspect of our fund, the foundations or whatever? I'm assuming we're conscious of that, but I wanted to hear it.
Yes, we are. And Steve, do you want to address that?
Well, that the whole ESG, environmental social governance thing, is kind of a current thing, and we're aware of it. We actually spent a good portion of several of our finance committee meetings discussing this. I wouldn't say we tabled it, but we have it kind of on a back burner at the present moment. And I also would like to mention that two of the finance committee members that we have, John Lynn Freeman and Amit Lalvani, both of them are extremely highly qualified people that work in the financial sector. And we are proud of them and we're grateful for them.
You know, on this note, what I want to do is open up the conversation more broadly, not just financial, but the board of Friends of Woodstock School is always interested in the ideas that people have here as to ideas or questions and this is your chance to lob something out if you want how can we do things better? What should we be thinking about?
Bruce, I want to ask about the Canadian FWS. What's the structure there? I know nothing about that. And I have a lot of family there who could possibly contribute.
That's actually Canadian Friends of Woodstock School exists, and it's run out of an office in Vancouver, I think. And do we have anybody on the Canadian Wood board here? I'm trying to see if anybody in our panel here today is on the board. It's they make grants directly to Woodstock, and it's I don't know. I don't feel qualified actually at the moment. I'm not prepared to talk about Canadian Friends of Woodstock, but it exists, and there's and they have a board, and for the tax benefits in Canada, it was set up in order to try to make that more accessible for Canadian alumni. Mary Scarston, do you want to add something?
Chris Morris, class of '87, I believe, served as the finance person on FWS for a while, and he runs his own hedge fund company and volunteered at his own expense to set up the Canadian FWS. We have very, very stringent measures in Canada about donations and stuff. So anyway, I'll put Chris's, I guess that's not politically correct to put somebody's email generally, but I'll ask Chris if Nadeem, I can give you his email, and then you can
Yeah.
Do you have his email?
I have contact with him through Facebook, but I don't trust Facebook. So yes.
He wouldn't be on Facebook. He's rarely on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll get his permission to send you his email, and then you can contact him directly.
Thank you.
I mean, he's another person who is highly qualified in the financial area.
Yes.
David
you.
Wheeler, do you want to add something to that?
You can visit the FWS website, and there's a link to Canadian Friends.
Thank you. Yes, I was going to say also in a lot of the Woodstock development literature, sometimes or social media postings.
I don't believe anybody that's on that board is on this call right now.
No, but Woodstock, when they put out some of their social media postings where they say, you know, if you want to help Woodstock, you can donate either through to Friends of Woodstock School or to Canadian Friends of Woodstock School or through, you know, other channels in India or Asia. I mean, they list a bunch of different channels. They usually present, you know, ways that Canadians can make donations to Canadian Friends of Woodstock School.
Well, it used to be.
Just go to the FWS website and take a look at the link. It'll take you there.
I'll just add, it used to be under the Convention Baptist Mission Board, like we use them, but again, Canada became very, very strict about donations, foreign donations, because of all the terrorism stuff. So for a number of years, there was nothing because like we weren't allowed to go under their umbrella. And it's wonderful that Chris stepped up to that because look at everybody loves an income tax receipt, especially if your donation is sizable. And that's what Chris has facilitated. So yeah, you can go to the link.
Terrific. Okay. Any other sort of questions, thoughts, suggestions, ideas for the FWS board as to, you know, just things we should think about, consider? Just throwing that out there. You can always write it. Oh, Mike Singh, I see your hand up. And you have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Thanks, Bruce. It's been great listening to all these stimulating conversations. Now, we talked yesterday about the role of nostalgia, and Dashwant was talking about diversity. So I'm wondering if there is a desire even for recruitment from other countries. I mean, obviously, the US is a big factor in Woodstock's history. Is there a desire to have more kids coming from high schools in the United States or France or Germany or anything like that? Or is everybody quite content with the makeup, current makeup?
Well, I'll jump in and with two quick replies, but I think that's a question you could ask tomorrow to Craig Cook if you want, when we have a panel where we're going to talk about where he's basically featured to talk about you know, where Woodstock's headed over the next 5 years or so. But I know, for example, Katie Jo and Craig Cook were here in the States during the month of July, traveling around. Was it June? It was in the month of June, traveling around and having meetings, you know, in certain hubs and so on. I know they came to Chicago. We had a Woodstock gathering here in Chicago. Before Craig came to my house for the Woodstock gathering, he met with some prospective parents just nearby, you know, who were planning on looking into sending their kid to Woodstock. Also, off the top of my head, I can't remember, I just went blank, but there is a former board member and you know, WOSA active. I'm going to find her name here. Hang on one sec.
Hey Bruce, while you find that, I can kind of address that question. Thanks for the question, Mike. Yeah, certainly our diversity strategy is starting regionally because of the pandemic, of course. So last spring, we made all kinds of regional trips and outreach efforts. And so those will continue to expand. We're always looking for students from all over the world, and we have all kinds of ways in which to do that. Of course, it's very hard to recruit students to India from abroad, given the pandemic conditions. But yes, that's definitely in our plan. So we'll talk about that more tomorrow. So I just wanted to input that. Thank you.
Thanks, Craig. No, there was a former Woodstock grad who's thinking of sending her daughter to Woodstock, and I was talking with her, and she, I think one of the motivations for some of these high school kids here in the States is one way to really distinguish yourself on your resume when you're applying to colleges is, if you could say I did a year or two at Woodstock in India, if you're a kid from a suburb of Chicago or Minneapolis or something like that, that catches people's attention. You don't, because otherwise the competition also is so high here in the States. Everybody's involved in so many activities, and academically, you have to have fantastic grades and have you get in good school. It's tough. Go to Woodstock for a year or two, and you'll get noticed. I think that would be my takeaway to give to to some of these parents who are thinking of sending their kids back to Woodstock now. So anyway, thanks for your question, Mike. Anything else? I want to call your attention once again. Go online if you don't have a hard copy of this. This is the latest 2021 annual report and it also lists all of the donors that have given to Friends of Woodstock School, and on behalf of our board, then I want to thank all of our donors and all of you again for your support, and the school thanks you all very much also. And it's just important that we thank everybody, and I want everybody here to know too. And speaking of thanking people, I want to thank particularly David and Connie Wheeler for, like I said, they're the wizards behind the curtain, pulling all the strings and and keeping things running. And we don't thank them enough, I think, for all the work that they do. And it's just been, for me anyway, as a board member, such a pleasure to work with David and Connie. They're just so thorough, confident, and pleasant. So big round of applause for them. All right. Well, I think we've covered everything we need to cover here, and I'm going to open it up for any final comments, and otherwise I'm going to close our meeting and bid you adieu. So I'm going to ask, I'll go around our board here right now and see if Sharon, Kim, I'm just looking at faces here. Would any of you like to pick? Actually, one thing I want to say about our current board: five members of the planning committee for our virtual reunion are board members here also. So, our board is really active. Everybody on our board has been doing, financial work, alumni relations work, something, and making, we put a lot of time into this. We love working with each other. We have a really great team, and we're working really comfortably and smoothly with Woodstock these days, and that's just a nice thing, and we want to keep it going. So Woodstock, we want to see Woodstock just pull out of this, this sort of COVID shutdown phase and really start thriving again. It's encouraging to know that they're back at full capacity students this year, and I think it's going to be a great year for Woodstock. So, Glenn Conrad, unmute yourself.
This might be a good venue in which to just mention that if you would like to be on the board or you'd be willing to be on the board, please make sure that someone on the board is aware of that, because we are keeping a list which we go to when we need to find people, and you'd be amazed how reluctant some of our schoolmates are to take positions of, you know, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, enough said.
All right, thank you. Sue Hannaful.
I was just going to say, because of the year that I graduated, it's probably time to get some more younger people in there to take my place.
No one can take your place.
I will phase out
No
at
one.
some point. At some point, I will phase out.
Not just yet, Sue.
Sue,
Okay, not
Sue-
yet.
Suzanne, at some point, all of us will phase out. All right. Some of us sooner than others.
Yes, me.
No. David Wheeler.
I'd want, while we're thanking people, there was one person that really needs to be thanked. And that's Max Marble, who's also a member of Lucy's class and Marlon's class, the class of 67. He quietly, and I mean quietly, goes about year after year putting together the in memoriam. And it is an amazing amount of work. So we have to really give a big thank you to Max Marble and the time and the money, that the expense that he incurs on his own dime, so to speak. So just from our office and where we sit, thank you, Max. It's greatly appreciated.
I move that the minutes reflect a formal motion of thanks to Max.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excellent.
Aye.
All right.
Bruce,
Karen, yep.
I don't know. I don't think you mentioned, maybe I missed it. But hopefully the next reunion is in person. It's in Phoenix, Arizona. Lori Shede Dauman is organizing it along with the crew there. So put that on your calendar. Do you know the dates, David or Connie? It's October.
It's the last weekend of October.
Yeah.
27 to 30.
Yep. So it'll be great to see you all in person again.
It's going to be amazing, really. So start planning on it right now. It's, you know, and it's been so long since we've all gotten together in person. So I am really looking forward to it. And I think, and we're going to have a enrichment program, optional enrichment program afterwards. In the Grand Canyon area. So if you haven't been to the Grand Canyon, or even if you've been to the Grand, I've been there several times, but you can never get enough of the Grand Canyon. That's such a beautiful spot. So so there'll be a lot more information coming out about the next in-person reunion next year, and we can all look forward to that.
Bruce,
Sharon.
there in the chat, there's some questions about, are we going to be able to have some online streaming from the reunion? And I think having, you know, being able to remove the geographic and financial limitations of who can participate in these things has been really fun, and being able to include people from India and around other places in the world. So I think that we're here to stay at some level, maybe perhaps asynchronous, not synchronous, but perhaps also synchronous. So yeah, so stay tuned to that, and we'll keep working on it and at least recording it, if nothing else.
And Connie has had her hand up for a while.
Oh, Connie, all right. Please,
Yeah.
Connie.
It's just another thank you. all the way around to the board members that sat on this planning committee, as led by Kim and Sharon, Suzanne, and others. But my special thanks, especially here during the last 2 weeks, goes out to David Shastry. And for anyone that's still on board, this virtual reunion platform was built by David Shastry. He has populated it for 2 years now. And this year had a lot more going on. And so that's my personal thanks to everyone on this committee, but notably David Shastry. And I just wanted to do a shout out.
Yes. And David Shastry is, you know, we're lucky to have him on our board. He's from the 2000s graduating class, you know, so the rest of us, I mean, we have, some of us are dinosaurs, and he's our, what's the opposite of a dinosaur?
A spring
whatever
chicken.
it is, it doesn't matter. But
A spring chicken.
he's fantastic. So just, we want more board members like David Shastry. So, all right, folks, this has been great. Thank you all very much for participating.
I've got a question, if we've got a minute.
Sure. Who is that? Is that Lee?
Lee Rice.
Lee Rice.
Sharon may have said this, but I think we need to make a special effort to include Indians on the committee and to show up at the reunion, because I've been to a number of reunions where there's virtually none. And that's a shame, given the composition of our student body now. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment there. Yes, no. So we have, you know, the baton is being passed. I can assure you, slowly, you know, but it's soon. You know, this is, like I said, there'll be more. You know, it typically the older generations are the ones that show up at our reunions, but it's changing, and you'll see that representation change over the next few years for sure. But thank you for comment. And again, thanks everybody for attending. I appreciate it. There's a whole lot more great programming to come. Lots of good sessions. Go get a sandwich or a cup of tea or something like that, and prepare yourself for the next one. Thank you very much. We'll see you all at other sessions. Bye-bye, everybody.